It is my honor to introduce today's graduation speaker, John Avlon, a noted author, journalist, political commentator, and a member of Milton Academy's class of 1991. I know John as Phip because our time together at Milton overlapped, although I graduated before he did. I think you're all familiar with the phenomenon where the underclassmen are more aware of those in the classes ahead of them. Phip was an exception. If I had to say why, it was not his fabulous hair, which is of course fabulous, and you should have seen him on his own graduation day, but for his writing and work on the Milton paper. Phip was a standout in every way that exemplifies the best of Milton students: thoughtful, intellectually curious, and opinionated. Phip embraced the ideal in our motto, "Dare to be true." And take note, graduates, John's time at Milton was a harbinger of his future career. John has been a lifelong learner, thoughtfully studying history, political leadership, and making insightful connections between our past and our present. John's career began in the New York City Mayor's office, where he went on to become the mayor's chief speechwriter and deputy policy director. When the September 11th attacks happened, John's work was thrust into a global spotlight as he communicated critical information not only to a city reeling from an unprecedented tragedy, but also to an entire nation seeking to make sense of the unimaginable. John later joined the editorial staff of the Daily Beast, first as a columnist, and eventually advancing to the position of editor-in-chief and managing director, building up the site's reputation for cutting-edge journalism. During his 5 years at the Daily Beast, there was incredible growth in its readership and its influence. He doubled its daily traffic and won more than 17 awards. The Daily Beast won. Don't worry, John. I know you didn't win all of them yourself, for journalistic excellence. Today, you may recognize John as a senior political analyst for CNN. He's also the author of 6 books, including Lincoln and the Fight for Peace and Washington's Farewell. He is known as a steady advocate for reason and empathy in a polarized political landscape. And in an industry where truth is under assault every day, John's commitment to doggedly pursuing and shining a light on the truth is indeed daring. With tremendous pride in my fellow Milton alum, and without further ado, it is my great privilege to welcome John Avlon to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Todd. Thank you to the Board of Directors. And most of all, congratulations to the class of 2023. As a former speechwriter, I can tell you those 2 addresses we just heard were absolutely beautiful and heartfelt and exemplary in every way. Thank you. Now, this is one of those mountaintop moments in life. I want you to savor it, appreciate it, and I know you do. Because from this pinnacle, you can look back at where you've been, look forward to where you're going, but most of all, appreciate this present moment with your family and friends, all of whom are with you and love you. Everything should seem possible to you now. But I'm sure the joy and relief you feel is probably suffused with some doubt and uncertainty. The future is inherently uncertain. It is unwritten. But know this: you have more power than you think you do. Time is on your side, especially if you apply it to the pursuit of real, true, authentic goals, the ones that are written in your heart. And the good news is that you are never alone on this path of life if you know where to look. Now, more than a quarter of a century ago, I was sitting where you are, boasting some cowboy boots, a blazer, long hair, as Claire said. The REM's album Out of Time had just come out. This was a seminal moment culturally for us. And I loved being at Milton. I loved this extended family of friends and the extraordinary faculty. And it remains the greatest educational experience of my life. It shaped my life in ways that only became clear years later. As Claire mentioned, I was editor of the Milton paper, and I became a journalist. I remember getting the Boston Globe and seeing about the fall of the Berlin Wall, the release of Nelson Mandela from prison, and I became fascinated with politics and geopolitics. I loved studying literature and history. Extraordinary teachers like Dave Dunbar, Ted Allen, Red Smith, Guy Hughes, Larry Pollins, and I became an author and historian. I even remember coming up with the idea for what became my first book, Independent Nation, at a seminar in Strauss Hall. I may have been daydreaming a little bit. I was also the lead singer in a campus rock band called Blind Dog Whiskey, which turned out to be surprisingly good practice for cable news. It was also here at Milton that I started collecting my favorite quotes, scribbling them down in a blue hardcover book. And I still love quotes. You know, they distill big ideas into a simple sentence, durable wisdom instantly available at those moments when we need to remind ourselves of what's really important. You know, writers work in words. They can be cluttered and weightless, but I wanted to give you something tactile and physical to hold on to in our digital world. And so in your bags is a special book printed just for this class titled 30 Quotes to Guide Your Life. Now it contains a few of my favorite quotes organized around the arc of life. And it kicks off with this foundational question from the poet Mary Oliver. What is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? This journey is a rare, wild gift. You get to be the author of your own life, with chapters defined by your choices. There are few rules and no redos, but never forget how precious you are and have been since the day you were born. Now, some of the best advice on how to live is basic kindergarten wisdom. I'm talking about the golden rule. Treat others as you'd like to be treated. It is just as easy and difficult and profound as that. Some version of the golden rule is found in virtually every faith tradition, the Bible, the Talmud, the Quran. It imagines life as a contest of caring, where kindness counts. My most recent book's about Abraham Lincoln. He stood out because he practiced the politics of the golden rule. And there are an endless number of Lincoln quotes I love. But here's one guide I like for those difficult moments when you feel stuck in life, wondering what the right thing to do. It's actually a favorite quotation of Abraham Lincoln's. He heard it from a farmer in Illinois, a guy who boasted some backwoods common sense. When I feel good, I do good. When I do good, I feel good. Got that backwards, said the farmer. When I do bad, I feel bad. And that is my religion. Now, you've been blessed with one of the great educations on earth, and now your journey will continue. You're going to meet a lot of smart people on the way, but you will find that intelligence isn't enough, as Dr. Martin Luther King told us. Intelligence plus character is the true goal of education. History is clear on this. Character is the essential quality in human beings. But remember this, just because a person is a character doesn't mean they have character. There will be times where you wrestle with fear and doubt. But as Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. You can't control other people's actions, but they can't control your reactions. Don't forget to have fun on this journey. I know you won't. So always laugh when you can, as the poet Lord Byron told us. It's cheap medicine. Some of my favorite moments from Milton are laughing with friends, people who still make me laugh harder than anyone on earth to this day, and I hope the same is true for you. Travel when you can. See the world. Get out of your bubble. Travel is enjoyable, but also, as Mark Twain wrote, travel is fatal to prejudice. You'll get perspective and learn there's more that unites us than divides us as human beings. Now, let's talk about love. It is, after all, one of the most important things in life. As you date and find your mate, the Chicago newspaper columnist Mary Smirch had a great bit of advice, often misattributed to Kurt Vonnegut. She wrote, "Don't be reckless with other people's hearts, and don't put up with people who are reckless with yours. To find who you love, do what you love. The two are often entwined. You'll find maybe that commitment is liberating, as paradoxical as that may sound. It simplifies your life and clarifies your priorities. And if you're searching for the meaning of life, when the time is right, have children. Seriously, we don't celebrate that enough, but just ask your parents, especially on a good day, like today. Courage is an essential quality, not just physical courage, although that matters. Moral courage, the moral courage to stay true to your core convictions. As the author Anais Nin wrote, life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. Now, sometimes the gap between what you dream and what you can do will seem daunting, particularly if you're starting out in a creative career. Take a page from Theodore Roosevelt. Do what you can, where you are, with what you've got. It's a very punk rock DIY ethos, and it works. There will be temptations and distractions along your way. We live in a society that celebrates the superficial and too often rewards short-term thinking. This is fool's gold. As the Holocaust survivor turned psychologist named Viktor Frankl wrote, when a person can't find a deep sense of meaning or purpose, they distract themselves with pleasure. Now, don't get me wrong, enjoy pleasure, but don't confuse it with the main purpose of life. That's the difference between fun and joy. Fun is fleeting. Joy is transcendent. A purpose beyond yourself is what you're really looking for. That's the good fight in life. You will inevitably face obstacles that might feel frustrating or unfair. But at these moments, I like to remember what the jazz great Duke Ellington said. A problem is a chance for you to do your best. Try to reframe the moment in your mind. Challenges are opportunities for excellence. While we're on the subject of jazz, I want to give a special shout out to Bob Sinecrope, 50 years teaching here at Milton, one of the greatest jazz programs anywhere in America or the world. When you have those setbacks, don't get discouraged or given to hate. It is self-destructive as a drug addiction. As Nelson Mandela said, resentment is like drinking poison, hoping it will kill your enemies. Persistence in life, though, is a superpower. Everyone's got setbacks in their career. I've written 6 books. I've had well over 24 rejections. You won't win every battle. That's okay. The key point to remember is you're never defeated unless you give up. Or, as a Japanese proverb tells us, knock down 7 times, stand up 8. Now, here's one way to improve your odds. Make change your ally and not your enemy. Surf the transformational trends of your time, which, to name a few, will include artificial intelligence, quantum computing, climate change mitigation, and nuclear fusion. As hockey great Wayne Gretzky said, skate to where the puck is going. I just wanted to make sure the hockey team was still listening, actually. You will not find success without hard work. Talent alone is not enough. That's reality. As the legendary football coach Vince Lombardi was fond of saying, the only place where success comes before work is in the dictionary. On the subject of success, the American philosopher and professor William James had a more earthy view, and he expressed it in an equation. Self-esteem, he said, is accomplishment divided by pretension. Think about that. In other words, take your work seriously, but not yourself. That's eternally good advice in any field. And I had a version of it painted on a pillar in the newsroom of the Daily Beast when I was editor-in-chief. That's a quote from a great Texas columnist named Molly Ivins. She wrote, "Keep fighting for freedom and justice, beloveds, but don't forget to have fun doing it." Now, part of life in a liberal democracy like ours is giving a damn about civics and politics. That's the price we pay to be citizens, not subjects. The essential quote for our times, or at least the last few years of my life as a journalist, comes from the late New York Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan. who said, "Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but not their own facts." I don't know who in your life needs to hear that, but keep it handy. The Czech dissident, prisoner, and playwright turned president Václav Havel was wary of people who impose politics and ideology on every human interaction, whether from the right or the left. He said, "Ideology gives people the illusion of dignity and morals while making it easier to part with them." Don't fall into groupthink or group blame. Remember, much of the evil in the world has come from viewing people primarily as members of groups rather than as individuals. Now, your class has already experienced events that changed the world that people will be writing books about for decades to come, in particular the global pandemic. So you know on a gut level how to take those obstacles and to emerge stronger and more united. You know that there will be moments when it looks like the world and our country is falling apart. But don't fall into pessimism. It is paralyzing. Instead, remember what Mahatma Gandhi said. "When I despair, I remember that all through history, the way of truth and love has always won. There have been tyrants and murderers, and for a time they can seem invincible. But in the end, they always fail. Think of it. Always." And that is true. The storm will pass. The sun will rise. And it is always blue sky above the clouds. If you think about it, the real triumphs in life require overcoming adversity. Very little worthwhile comes easily. That itself can be a powerful motivator. Listen to Irish author George Bernard Shaw, who said, "This is the true joy in life, the being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as a mighty one, the being a force of nature instead of a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy." Keep moving. Keep creating. Keep growing. Don't lose your enthusiasm, no matter the age. As Bob Dylan sang, "He not busy being born is busy dying." At a certain point, and don't wait too late, think about what you might want your legacy to be. I like what musical great Stephen Sondheim wrote in a play called Sunday in the Park with George, which is one of my wife Margaret's favorites. He wrote, "There are only two worthwhile things to leave behind when you depart this world of ours: children and art." I love that because it's so simple and accessible to anybody. Love over money. Children and art are extensions of our love that carry forward with lives of our own into the world long after we're gone. And at the end of the day, we're here to help other people and leave the place a little bit better than we found it. We don't need to make it more complicated than that. I was 28 years old after the destruction of the World Trade Center when I was working as chief speechwriter to the mayor of New York. And my team and I ended up writing the eulogies for 343 firefighters who died that day, as well as police officers and Port Authority police officers. It was a difficult time, but I was grateful to have work that allowed me to channel my emotions into something constructive. And as tragic as all those individual stories were, the fact that they had given their life for something larger than themselves was itself redeeming. And refracted through a different lens, it reminded me of something that the baseball great Jackie Robinson believed. One life does not matter, except for the impact it has on other lives. And finally, the book closes out with something to remember: no high or low you might feel. It's the one, I think, indisputably true thing in life. This too shall pass. I hope that this book will offer you useful wisdom to carry forward, reminding you in challenging moments that you are never alone on this journey. Your guides can include some of the most fascinating people who ever lived, musicians and presidents, authors and philosophers. Consider it an invisible republic of advisors gathered from across time and space to cheer you on. Now, in the process of pulling together these quotes, I've been reminded, frankly, of what a challenge it is to live up to our ideals. There are all sorts of rationalizations that can distract us from having the courage and clarity to pursue our real true goals. It is humbling to know how we can fall short of our own advice. But then, that's part of what it means to be human, to laugh, to forgive, and to persevere. To form a more perfect union within and without ourselves, tapping into that reservoir of joy and purpose, to appreciate this life and the opportunities for action it provides in a way that answers the question that we began with. What is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Answer it for yourself. Do the work to make it happen. Appreciate the journey, and always dare to be true.